Hey guys, back with another video. This time around we are going to be making some fajitas. If you caught my Spanish rice video, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. If you did see it, this is a perfect thing to serve with that Spanish rice. So what we're going to need today is a cast iron skillet. If you don't have cast iron, you can use a normal skillet, that's fine. If you're afraid to use cast iron, don't be afraid. A lot of people have the wrong idea that cast iron, it's sticky, you don't know, it's hard to work with. That's a lie. Cast iron is one of the best things that you can cook with. It's so nice. It takes that heat and maintains that heat really, really well. And if you keep it seasoned, meaning if you oil your pan after every time that you use it and you wash it, it's not going to stick, but it's going to really allow you to get a nice char on your food, and it's going to season your food from the flavor that's stuck in the pan. So it's really, really nice to cook with cast iron. That's what I use for fajitas. That's what we're using today. The ingredients you're going to need. I'm going to be cooking steak and chicken fajitas. So I have about 300 grams of chicken. This is chicken breast, cut up into strips. And then here, about 500 grams of steak. This is beef, and it's like a flank steak cut, and it's cut into thin strips. You can use whatever you want. Some people like to use shrimp, and they do shrimp fajitas. Some people just do vegetables, and if you're vegetarian, you can substitute other things. Some people put fish in there. My favorite is chicken and steak, so that's what we're gonna do today. Also, you need some vegetables. Here we have some bell pepper, some red bell pepper, and then underneath are some onions sliced up. And as for seasoning, I've got my chili flakes, some normal pepper, some salt, and then I have a mix of a couple of different things with some cumin, oregano. I've got some chili powder in there from some Mexican chilies that my aunt actually sent over from America for me. Thank you, Auntie Chrissy. I've got those in there, and I got, I think, what else in there? I think that's it. Oh, and some coriander, some ground coriander. And that's just basically my little spice mix for my fajitas. Again, I've mentioned this before, lard is one of the key ingredients in cooking Mexican food. It gives it that different flavor than olive oil or vegetable oil. You don't have to use this. You can use regular vegetable oil, but whenever I cook Mexican food, I like to try and use lard. And then for that end effect, if you've ever had fajitas in a restaurant, sometimes they serve them on fire at your table. You have a shot of whatever alcohol. You can use whiskey, but traditionally tequila, because this is Mexican food. So save that for the end. Try not to drink it. If you do, fill it back up, because you're going to need it for the end here. So to get started, we need to get a hot skillet. So we'll turn our gas on, and we'll get our pan nice and hot. So guys, this is a cast iron skillet. It's going to take a few minutes to heat up. It is a thick piece of metal, cast iron. Be careful when it does get hot. You don't want to grab this handle here and burn yourself. So what you can do, what I like to do, is have like a kitchen towel available, or you can have an oven mitt next to it. They also sell sleeves that you can put on these handles and leave them on while you're cooking, or while you're, you don't have to leave them on while you're cooking, but that they're sitting nearby. So when you grab this, you don't burn your hand. This is all, one piece of metal. It's not a separate handle like a normal pan. So be careful. If you've never cooked with this before, you can easily burn yourself. So this pan is getting nice and hot. You can feel just with your hand putting it near the pan that it's pretty hot. I'm going to go ahead and add about a tablespoon of that lard, and I'm just going to get it nice and dissolved here on the bottom of the skillet. You might not need a whole tablespoon. It's up to you really, but we want to get that flavor in there, and we want to really get the bottom of the pan nice and lubricated. Also for cast iron, you can go ahead and use a metal spoon or a metal utensil to go ahead and stir with. With a non-stick skillet, you're not going to want to do that. You're going to want to use a silicone or wood or a plastic, a softer plastic, not too hard, because you don't want to scrape that non-stick coating off. With a cast iron skillet, it really doesn't matter. You can go in there with metal and stir it up. So now this is nice and hot. I'm gonna go ahead and lower my heat because I don't want it to burn, but I want it to maintain that heat. So I'm gonna lower it to about medium heat, medium high, and I'm gonna add my chicken first. I'm gonna cook my protein separate, and then in the end, when I'm cooking the vegetables, add everything back together, and the fajitas will be done. So, as you can maybe see, there's a little bit of smoke now coming from this pan. I'm gonna go ahead and add this chicken, and that's what you wanna hear, guys. I've said that before. You wanna hear the sizzling, that means you're cooking. Give that a mix. You want to season it well. Your salt, if it's too hot, you can turn it back down a bit. You don't want it to burn. A little bit of pepper, a little bit of your chili flakes, and of course your spice mix. Maybe you have your own taco seasoning that you have, or your special ones in the store, your special fajita seasoning, whatever you want, whatever you got, go ahead and add that. Give that a mix. It smells wonderful. Like I said, you can't really smell stuff on YouTube, but it smells really good. You can smell the seasonings, you can smell the oregano and the coriander and the cumin all coming together, and it smells great. So let that cook down, and just take your time, give it a minute. You don't have to have everything on full blast heat. You can let it cook at a slower pace. That's fine for now. Leave that heat at about medium high, and let the pan do its thing. All right, so it's been about 3 or 4 minutes, and the chicken is almost cooked through, okay? It's just about at that point where I would say it's done, or it's almost done. For now, it's done. We're gonna take it off of the heat. So just grab your bowl, whatever you had it in, and go ahead and remove it. And then you can immediately then add your beef or your other protein, whatever it is that you're cooking. In this case, it's beef. So I'm gonna go ahead and take these last bits of chicken out, and then immediately with the beef. Now, beef tends to not take as long to cook as chicken, so you can leave the heat up and just watch this. Give it a minute, season it, and it'll be done within about 2 minutes. Some salt, pepper, chili flakes, and of course your fajita seasoning, whatever it is that you're using, your taco seasoning, your fajita seasoning, or if you use the seasoning mix that I said in the beginning, add that. And now you can see on the bottom, this meat is starting to already cook. So give it a good stir. And we're about 5 or 6 minutes into having this pan really hot. I can feel now this handle is getting really warm. You have to be careful. I'm gonna have to be careful that I don't burn my hand. But as you see, this meat is cooking. The heat is on all the way high right now. There's a lot of moisture inside the meat, and you don't want all that moisture to come out and then boil your meat or braise your meat. So you want to be able to keep the heat high enough so that you don't do that. Alright, this meat is cooking along. In about 30 seconds or so, I'm going to remove this. I'm going to save any liquid that I have because that's going to help to flavor the fajitas later. And I'm going to put it back in my bowl. Now, with beef, you can cook it a little bit undercooked, a lot more than your chicken, because when you cook it again later, it'll finish up and it'll even stay a little bit pink inside. If you don't like it like that, you can cook it to almost finished now, and then when you add it later, it will finish completely in the pan. Okay, I'm removing my meat now. Turn the heat down. Meat back in the bowl. And it's still a little bit pink in the middle, which is good. That's how I like it. I like to have my meat like medium rare to medium well for fajitas. and so I'm not going to cook it all the way through right now, first time through. And I'm going to go ahead and save this liquid, and we're going to come back for the vegetables. So, okay, so we're back now. I've got this towel because this handle is really hot, and I'm just going to go ahead and scrape out this juice that's left in there because I want that. That is flavor, and you don't want to waste any of that flavor. All right, so pan back on the heat up. We're going to get a little bit more of that lard into the pan. About another teaspoon. Give it a quick stir around there. Let it get into the nooks and the crannies. Alright. Now, nothing has been sticking to this pan. We've been keeping it well lubricated. So now, we've got that oil in there, that lard. It's melting, it's starting to sizzle. We're going to go ahead and add our vegetables. In this case, our peppers and our onions. And it's that simple. Okay? If you're a person that really likes to touch the pan while you're cooking, that's fine. Make sure you have your towel. Make sure you buy a little sleeve, or you have your oven mitt nearby, whatever you need to do so that you don't burn yourself. For me, I like the towel. It's easy, it's right there. And you're just gonna mix and just stir these guys around, allow them to cook. It's gonna pick up the flavor from the chicken and from the beef that you just cooked with those seasonings, and they're going to cook pretty quickly. Some people will add garlic, some people will add different colored peppers. I had a red pepper at home, and so I use red pepper. Sometimes I'll add green in there just for that color, to give it a different feeling when you're eating it. Food should also look good too. And so mixing in some red and green peppers instead of just the red will help you to make your food even more appealing to your eye. So we've given that a mix. Go ahead and season your vegetables. You always season everything. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. For me, a little bit of those chili flakes, just a pinch, and of course, your fajita mix. You're going to season everything with this seasoning. Okay, and it's up to you how much you add. Every time I add a few pinches, and I think it works well that way. Okay, you're going to leave that heat relatively high, between medium high and high. You want those vegetables to cook rather quickly. Keep them moving if you need to so you don't burn them, but don't turn the heat down. If you turn the heat too far down, then the moistures are going to come out and you're going to boil your food. And you don't want that. You want them to cook. You want them to keep that crisp, a little bit of that crisp, and maybe get a little bit of char on those vegetables. It'll help. That smoky, charry flavor will really add in well to the fajita, to that Mexican style, that Mexican flavor, that char. Okay guys, we're about 4.5–5 minutes into this, and these vegetables are looking great. They are cooked almost 100% to where I want them to be. They're still a little bit crispy. The onions and the peppers have a little bit of char on them from that heat. So we're going to go ahead and add our chicken back to the mix. Give that a nice stir. Stir it up. Get them nice and mixed together. We got our beef. Add that back along with that juice. Nice. Now, you might want to add some diced green onions to this, some fresh cilantro. Do whatever you want. A big part of cooking, guys, is just experimenting, doing stuff, trying new things, trying new flavors, mixing stuff together, and really finding out what you like and what tastes good. There's very few things that you can do that are absolutely wrong. If it tastes good, then there's nothing wrong with it. go ahead and try new things. So this smells amazing. It looks amazing. It's almost ready to go. I'm gonna let those juices cook down a bit. That chicken is gonna finish cooking, and in just about a minute, I'm gonna go ahead and add that final kick, that tequila, and we're gonna get all those juices then off the bottom of the pan. It's called deglazing. That quick water or wine or whatever you use is going to loosen up all that stuff that might be cooked onto the bottom of your pan. It's going to then incorporate into whatever it is you're cooking. And so that's an awesome thing to be able to do, is to deglaze that pan. So we're just about there. The heat should be all the way up, screaming hot as you can, to get those juices all cooked down at the bottom of that pan, and we're gonna splash it with that tequila right at the end. Okay guys, we are at the end. This is the final step. Now, if you're worried or you've never done this before, don't feel like you have to, you don't need to, but this is one of the more traditional ways that this dish is served. You can do it one of two ways. You can take this cast iron skillet, put it onto a wooden board, throw the tequila on it and light it with a lighter. That will work. You can also get a match and light the match and light the tequila, the vapor, when it starts to sizzle. I've never seen anybody do it other than with a lighter. If you're doing it on the stove, then you just throw the tequila in, you bring the pan over to the side, and the heat coming off will actually go over the side and will catch it on fire, and you'll have a big flame. It's completely up to you. You can try it. If you have a stove like with a hood over your stove where you catch the grease, don't do this right underneath that. You will definitely regret it, okay? Make sure you have a big open area above you, or maybe you're outside the first time you try it. But what you're gonna do, you're going to take your alcohol, your tequila, your wine, whatever it is you have, you're going to add it. It's going to start bubbling. You're gonna move it to the side, and you're gonna get a flame. Easy as that. You can go ahead and kill the heat. That flame is going to die down. Even if you don't see it, it might still be there. It can get invisible sometimes, so don't burn yourself. That will cook down. The alcohol will disappear. You can go ahead and give that another mix. Incorporate all of that awesome tequila flavor into your fajitas. And that is ready to serve. So, thanks guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions on what to cook, or any questions at all about knife skills, about cutting, about cooking, whatever, ask me in the comments below, and I'll see what I can do about making a video for you guys. So that was fajitas. Have a great day guys, and until next time, peace.